I call to order this meeting of Stillwater Area Public Schools School Board District 834 for Tuesday, October 19th. Joan, can you please take the roll?
Director Hackert? Here. Director Kunze?
Here.
Director Corbeni?
Here.
Director Riley? Here. Director Sherman? Here. Chair Petrie?
Here.
You have a quorum.
Thank you. We'll stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Director Hackert, can you please read the district mission statement?
Sure. The mission of Stillwater Area Public Schools, in partnership with students, family, and community, is to develop curious individuals who are active and engaged learners in an ever-changing world by challenging all students as they travel along their personalized learning pathways.
Thank you. Director Kunze, can you state the school board goals?
Sure. In partnership with community, parents, and students, the School Board of Stillwater Area Public Schools ensures excellence in education by increasing student achievement for all students, securing long-term financial stability of the district, increasing community trust and engagement.
Thank you. Can I get a motion to approve the agenda for tonight? Director Kunze, is there a second? Director Sherman. All those in favor of approving the agenda tonight, raise your hand and say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Motion passes unanimously. We do not have a student report tonight. So we are going to move on to the next item on our agenda, which is the Superintendent Report.
Okay, thank you, Chair Petrie and Board Directors. Our very own Early Childhood Family Education, Ecfe program was featured on a Minnesota Department of Education's webinar last week. Parent educators from Stillwater shared how they've been able to engage with families and keep young children learning through nature-based activities during the COVID-19 pandemic. Stillwater's ECFC began providing outdoor learning opportunities for young families in December 2020. They've continued to provide outdoor activities for all ages from birth to age 8 ever since, and they've always been a big hit with our students. Learning outside has proven to be a safe and fun way for young children to connect and learn along with teachers and other kids their age. And we now have free take-home COVID-19 test kits. They're available in our school health offices by parent request. Vault testing kits are currently available. The saliva test kits can be taken home and returned to Oakland or Stillwater Middle Schools or the high school before 10 a.m. on Tuesdays or Thursdays to be delivered to the testing lab. The district has also ordered a supply of Binex Now over-the-counter at-home testing kits. We expect to receive these rapid results nasal swab tests in the next month and will offer them to parents for our students as soon as they become available. And it's just 2 weeks from Election Day. District taxpayers will be asked to renew an expiring operating levy, as well as consider new funding to help maintain quality learning and invest in technology for kids and classrooms. If you weren't able to join us last night for a virtual levy meeting, I encourage you to watch the video on our website. We spent time reviewing how levy funds would be used, and we answered questions from our community members. Our current levy is expiring, and this is the last chance for us to renew. If it is not passed, we will lose about $12 million for next year, and we'll have to make significant budget reductions. I encourage you to get out and vote. You can vote early at the Washington County Government Center or the Woodbury Library, or you can vote on Election Day. You can find more information online at stillwaterschools.org/levy 2021. Thank you.
Thank you. Next item on the agenda is the board chair report. I have nothing for tonight, so we will move on to the consent agenda. The consent agenda, A is minutes of the October 5th special meeting. B is minutes of October 7th closed session. C is minutes of October 7th business meeting. D is the disbursement register. E is accept gifts and donations. F is Century College Joint Powers Agreement for 2021 to 2022. G is district-wide snow removal and pavement treatment, and H is human resources personnel report. Can I get a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I'll move.
Okay, Director Hockert, is there a second? Director Porvini. All those in favor of approving the consent agenda, raise your hand and say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Motion carries unanimously. All right, we're moving on to reports. We have one report tonight. It is a professional development update. Dr. Caleb Drexler Booth.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chair Petrie, Directors of the Board, Superintendent Lansfeld. Happy to share with you an update tonight of our professional learning opportunities in which our teachers will be engaged this year. So as we consider getting our PowerPoint ready, that's okay. All right. As we consider professional development this year, it's important to consider the different forms in which professional development can take. So we certainly have our traditional calendar structure that builds in dedicated days for professional learning, non-student contact days. We have 3 of those remaining, November 2nd, January 17th, and April 15th. But we also have our job-embedded ongoing professional development. I'll highlight that a little bit more later in future slides, but some specific key opportunities in that area regard our mentor program, our professional learning communities, and our instructional coaching. With staff and students largely back in physical classrooms this year, our professional learning is focused on meeting the needs impacted by last year's changing learning models, especially as we consider our foundational literacy skills and social emotional learning with student supports. We need to also take this opportunity to reconnect with our internal systems to support continuous improvement, especially in curriculum and instruction, aligning standards with assessments, and providing interventions and extensions to support learning. Take a quick preview of our plans for November 2nd. The work that I highlighted began in August workshops, looking at social emotional learning and literacy, but this work needs to continue as part of our November 2nd day. Elementary staff will be engaged in a number of literacy-focused sessions, as well as responsive classroom practices and other topics related to specific subject areas and student programming. Of special note, I would highlight the Letterland refresher in place for our K-1 staff. This also coincides with a systems level fidelity check of our program implementation with coaching support to support our grade levels. Additionally, in response to our needs analysis, we've determined to extend this structured literacy program to 2nd grade. So all 2nd grade teachers will participate in an all-day Letterland training on November 2nd to infuse phonics and phonemic awareness lessons into their classrooms. 3rd through 5th grade teachers will deepen their understanding of PRESS, which is an intervention system we use that's been designed by the Minnesota Center for Reading Research out of the University of Minnesota in partnership with the Minnesota Reading Corps. Early childhood and secondary schools also have a number of learning activities built into this day that focus on strengthening relationship building, addressing social and emotional learning needs. Additionally, staff will have dedicated time to focus on those high-yield instructional strategies and to examine the alignment of standards with curricular units and assessment plans. In addition to those dedicated days for professional development, Stillwater teachers also have access to a variety of ongoing job-embedded professional development opportunities. Specifically, I mentioned our mentorship program. This is a specific program to support those staff new to Stillwater, to identify a teacher to work with that individual one-on-one. Additionally, our teachers participate in professional learning communities, subject area teams, grade level teams that come together to look at their curriculum, answering 4 basic questions. What is it we want students to know and be able to do? How will we know if they are able to do it? What will we do if they don't? And how do we extend opportunities for those who already know it? More continued development in that area is necessary, and providing time is always one of the challenges, to find that collaboration time for staff to get together. Additionally, our observation walkthroughs and learning visits provide a lens into the classroom so teachers can see each other teaching, administrators can get in and provide that ongoing support as well. And we also have our instructional coaching program. We have staff assigned to every building to support teachers in going through impact cycles and wonderings and how to go deeper into various elements of instruction. Much of this at elementary will be focused on literacy. And at secondaries, our instructional coaches are vital supports in helping staff align those systems and function in professional learning communities. In addition to those pieces, I'm also excited to share some specific opportunities for extended learning. The first would be the language essentials for teachers of reading and spelling, commonly referred to as letters. So both Karen Latteral and I have previously participated in volume 1 of this intensive professional development. And so we are happy to extend this opportunity for teachers to learn about the science of reading in this environment. So we've extended an opportunity, put out an interest survey, and we'll be selecting about 15 teachers to begin this journey. This will engage staff in over 40 hours of professional learning, personal professional learning, reading the materials, watching the videos, engaging in the instructional strategies with students, and then also meeting with Karen and me to debrief the various units and to talk about how we might continue rolling these conversations out across the district. It is a very time intensive. Like I said, it's 40 hours minimum of personal reflection and reading and preparation. Similarly, our reading interventionists will continue to deepen their understanding of Orton Gillingham supported instructional practices. They've begun that work over the summer, and we'll continue conversations moving forward, looking for additional resources that might be able to support them in their work in those intensive tier 2 and tier 3 interventions. Lastly, I would just mention that our GATE teachers and Amigos Unidos teachers will continue some of the ongoing year-long conversations and reflections that they've been engaged with to meet the specific needs of their learners as well. So we're proud to maximize the opportunities for professional development, and we certainly efficiently manage our limited resources to focus on areas of need and high impact. That said, funding challenges do limit and delay the full impact of our initiatives, whether it be curriculum improvements or applying professional learning into the classroom, utilizing professional learning communities, and so on. So by securing full funding for professional development, we will be able to strengthen and refine our cycles of continuous improvement and build teacher leadership into that process. We'll be able to provide time for research-supported and continue the ongoing job-embedded professional development. Might look like early release or late start days, might be adding professional development days to the calendar, providing release time for teachers to engage in collaboration and learning outside of the classroom. We'll also be able to build that internal capacity, build that expertise in the district, and provide that curricular leadership to support our various subject areas and grade levels, and create that horizontal alignment and vertical articulation of skills. We'll also finally be able to utilize a district data snapshot to track our improvement efforts, strengthening our monitoring and assessment systems to ensure student growth. And so certainly part of that would be the performance matters and building in our common assessments and see how those line up with MCAs and FastBridge data and have a resource to really dig in to our students and identify how we can serve them better and what might be some root causes for challenges. So the task is big, but this is the work of an organization that's dedicated to learning and certainly for our teaching and learning department. So with that, I would be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Okay, thank you very much. Are there questions? Director Kunze?
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about letters. You say you're selecting a few teachers, you're training them, it's 40 hours of training, stuff like that. Is this a train the trainer type of thing where they're gonna share their skills, or is it something we have to select a few teachers every single year to go through this?
Yeah, so I would equate it to a college course in the science of reading. And so it's a fairly intensive process to dig into the materials and to, after every single lesson and unit, there's assessments, formative assessments that teachers take to see, whether they understand the material and so on. In terms of the final implementation, I don't know that this is something that every single teacher would go through. So it might look more like a train the trainer. So as we're looking at who is participating, certainly instructional coaches will be part of that so that they can infuse what they've learned into their conversations with staff. Interventionists can certainly participate in that. Teachers who are thinking about becoming an instructional coach would certainly be a good candidate for this, as well as teachers who are just really interested and want to take a leadership form in some way with literacy.
So, I mean, how is this, this program, if we're doing the instructional coaches and stuff, what are we expecting to come out of this type of training? I mean, how are we gonna get that to the teachers that are teaching the students?
Yeah, so like I said, I think the instructional coach model is certainly a piece to certainly highlight. So we have the staff in every building to help facilitate that. In terms of a rollout, I think part of it is making sure that we can build that capacity and make sure that we're continuing those conversations. So for instance, when we engage with that Letterland support, Letterland is a structured literacy program. The coaches then are able to come in and assist the teachers or whoever's had this training to continue the conversations about why Letterland is important, why it is important to focus on phonics and phonemic awareness in the way that we do, to connect it to some of the brain research. So the first unit in that letters training talks about how the brain functions with learning language and learning and connecting the sounds with the symbols of the sounds and the words.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Director Sherman?
I was actually going to ask about this too. I'm assuming that there's a cost is there a reason why it's 15 teachers that we're having this rolled out to first, or? Yeah,
so there's a couple level of costs. So there is the actual physical resource and the online training that goes with that. And that's a couple $100. I don't remember exactly how much that is. But additionally, with the program, we bring in virtually or physically, we're working on some of those details, a presenter, a consultant from Voyager Sopris Learning, who is the vendor. Mm-hmm. So they facilitate and provide additional conversation and reflection in those pieces. And then it's also recognizing and honoring the work that teachers are putting in, right, and providing the sub-release time for that.
Okay, because it would be during the day then.
Exactly.
So it would be, okay, so there is a cost then.
There is a cost, yep.
And are you inviting any teachers? Is it purely just a opt-in at this point, or are you looking to make sure all buildings are covered, or is there criteria like that?
Yep. So as I said, the instructional coaches and interventionists, certainly we see a role for them to facilitate those conversations back in the buildings. But we also want to make sure that, from the classroom teachers who apply, that we have distribution.
And then lastly, I just had the instructional coaches. I know we've talked about this a couple times. They were cut at the elementary level this year. So I think except for Lake Elmo Elementary, due to its size, we're at half FTE in our buildings. How is that going to impact anything like this? Because I was curious, even when you were laying out the training day, yep. How is that going to work if the instructional coaches are half-time? Do they bounce, morning is at this school, afternoon training's at this school, and they're able to be at both, or?
Yeah, they have various schedules based on what's going on in the building. In terms of their support with literacy, I think it'd be fair to say their primary focus is supporting those K-2 teachers and implementing Letterland and making sure that we're implementing with fidelity to the program. And I think the letters piece is in that learning phase. You know, what are the pieces here that we need to bring into our system so that we can support the ongoing conversations down the line as well.
Director Riley.
So the teachers that opt in to do or get chosen to do the letters PD, do they have to, are they committed to doing the other PD as well on top of this, or can they do one or the other?
No, are you referencing Letterland
Well,
training or other?
Letters training, which
Yeah.
is 40
Yep.
hours, right?
Yep.
So if they're, you know, very intensive training, so that is on top of the other district required PD that they have to do.
Correct, yep.
So there's not really a benefit for them really to do both, right? I mean, as far as schedule-wise, you have to do it all, or?
It is an opt-in to this letters training, which is, as you said, it's 40 hours of learning outside of the day. It's outside of their contract day. And I will say, we put out the survey, I think yesterday or 2 days ago, and we have a lot of interest, so.
So that's my other concern as well, is that I'm concerned that without there being an actual plan, a rollout plan, or a plan that's put forth with fidelity, that it's going to become inequitable in the classroom, and you're going to have some teachers that really thrive and students who do really well, and then you'll have some that struggle a little bit more. So that is a concern I have. I would like to see more of a commitment versus a random teacher here and there.
I fully agree with you, and I think we will know more after November 2nd with what we can and cannot do. This is a start. This is greatly needed for our students. It comes at a cost, and we need the resources and we need the budget to do this, but this is a start, and we are very much so hoping to grow this and have consistency with fidelity across the district.
Director Hackert.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I just wanted
Dr.
to make
Cherry.
one more clarification in the difference between letters and letterland. They sound a lot alike. Letterland is tied to our curriculum, so that is something that all teachers need to be versed in and be able to deliver with fidelity. So that is a requirement that won't go away. Letters is more of a philosophical course. At times it's been touted as the level of instruction that a reading specialist would receive. So that's above and beyond what a traditional elementary teacher would receive in their understanding and teaching of literacy skills. It's really at that above the par level. It's not specifically tied to our curriculum.
Correct,
So
and
just wanted to-
it helps teachers learn to waver through poor curriculum, right? If you have curriculum that isn't so great, it helps teachers to identify what is good and not so good in that curriculum.
I think the part that we really appreciate about letters is it's really into the science of reading, and it provides a lot of in-depth instruction. So we're excited to be able to offer this to a portion of our teachers, and as Superintendent Lansfeld just shared, we would like to expand that, and we'll have to see as our funding decisions are made where we go from here.
I would say it's in addition to. It supports reading. It supports the learning of reading with what we are already doing. Also, it would be fun to sometime make some videos or have people see the classes that are implementing Letterland. It's a joyous time in a classroom, and how they learn and how they're engaged, it's pretty amazing to see. It's a fun time with reading.
Director Hackert.
Thank you. Kind of shifting gears a little bit. I'm curious, I appreciate seeing this very extensive PD list of what's going to be happening on November 2nd. Will there be any room in this or during this day to kind of allow teachers to connect and reflect a little bit about what they're not seeing with kids being back in the classrooms after a year and a half of pandemic learning? I'm kind of curious if that's built in, or if it isn't, if that is something that we could maybe move forward, allow teachers to have colleague time to talk about what they are learning, and maybe give some feedback as to what new needs are emerging after distance learning last year.
Yeah, so I would say with specifics to the structure and schedule of the day, we didn't necessarily build in specific, this is a grade 1 time for collaboration. I will say though, looking at the schedule, there's plenty of time within it that is not structured. So there's time at the building level for teachers to get together and to talk through some of those things, specifically at the elementary. At the secondary level, they do have more time built in based on departments to come together and talk about relationships with students and, you know, connections and some of those pieces. Elementary, like I said, it is very much more focused on the literacy initiatives that we need to manage, but there is time available within the day to do that.
Is there an expectation to bring that learning back to the higher levels of the district so that we can kind of hear what's going on the ground and what they're seeing and kind of reflect on the bigger picture of PD and make adjustments if needed? Or is that piece not quite in there yet?
Now, which piece was that?
Sorry, I'm thinking like once the teachers have had an opportunity to talk amongst themselves on November 2nd or during any PD, is there an expectation or some way to gather those learnings as a district and kind of learn from the higher levels of kind of what patterns we're starting to see, basically data gathering on what learning loss is occurring?
Well, we usually do surveys at the end of our PD days.
Okay.
But at least at the elementary level, they meet usually weekly with their professional learning communities. So they're working together, looking at student data during those times. And then there's usually scheduled MTSS, multi-tiered systems of support meetings, where you'll have a student advocate in there. You'll have other support staff, the instructional coach, where they look at the data and they look at the entire child. It's not just academic. They can look at any social emotional concerns that students might have too.
Additionally, I would say principals will be meeting with their leadership teams to talk about some of those pieces. We'll bring our district-wide professional development team together as well to reflect on the day, what was learned, what are some areas that we need to adjust on those remaining professional development days as well.
Great, thank you.
Director Porbaney.
Thank you, Chair Petrie. Thank you, Dr. Booth. Appreciate that. Just a quick clarification here. Are we talking about letters or we're talking about Letterland?
Both.
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 Okay.
Yep. Letters, however, is not part of the November 2nd training. That's separate. So the times when we bring those teachers together, that will be outside of our professional development district days.
Okay. So I know Director Sherman had asked what the cost was. So did we get an answer to that? What the cost will be for letters? What is the cost for that particular training? Do we know what the cost is?
We do know that cost. We can provide that. I don't know if we can quote the
I don't
dollar
have it.
amount
I don't
right
have
now.
all of the different components added up right now.
Added up, but essentially it is the teacher's time. They have about 40 hours of personal independent learning that they do, reading and individual assessments. And then they come together to do their debrief and deeper dive with the consultants. And also Caleb and Karen are also going to be involved in that. And so that's how many times a year? I'm sorry, Caleb.
4 meetings. The last one will be after school, so that won't be a sub day, but we will pay teachers for that time.
Yep.
Yep. And a concern we do have is finding subs this year. All districts are having difficulty with that. We did add more permanent subs to our list of subs that we can call in. Some school districts have canceled all PD this year that require subs because we are in such a shortage. So that might be a roadblock, but we're going to try.
So thank you for that. I have a question and I also have a concern. My question is, what is your expected outcome? I understand that there's, research and really understanding is more of a cognitive ability with respect to how teachers apply some of the reading and being able to understand how students react. I understand that part, but what exactly what's your aim? What are you trying to achieve? I agree with Director Riley. If there is no consistent plan in terms of what we call a line of sight and what you expect that outcome to be, then we're just sending people out for training. It's just normal professional development. But in this case, because we want to have an impact, we want to be able to see results, we want to be able to see changes, it's important that we have a plan. It's important that because that plan should have what our goals are, what those expectations are, and what those outcomes will be. The outcome is really what we're interested in. You can send anyone and everyone to training, but if they have no plan in terms of what your expectations of them are and what your expectations in terms of what that impact will be, then it's a waste of money. It's a waste of money. So the assumption that we're going to have 15, I don't know how the 15 was selected, and if people are interested to be a part of it, in this case, knowing fully well in terms of how it's been explained, I think we have to be really intentional because we want to see results. So for me, I agree with Director Riley in this case that if there's no plan, then it's going to be inconsistent. So you're just sending people out to do trainings, they come back, there's really no process of implementation. It's just, all right, you went for this training, okay, you do this. Coming from my personal training, if you send someone out, if you pay $1 on someone, you expect 70 cents in return. If you don't have a plan, you get nothing. So I would really like to see, like she said, that we have something in place. I understand we have to do something, but when it comes to knowledge, when it comes to professional development, doing something is not enough because you want that knowledge to be seen. You want to see an outcome in the classroom. And if we're just looking at research and how teachers learn in terms of identifying or being able to have that cognitive development as to how to implement those kinds of processes, then we're not talking about how it will benefit the children. So what is our expectation?
Yeah, well, and that is exactly why we're starting with our instructional coaches with the job-embedded PD so that they can follow up with teachers. That's why we're starting with our interventionists. They're working with our highest needs students with literacy, so they have that impact, which they track the data. And then that's why QComp is going to be so important to continue to grow this as well.
I just want to answer your direct question. What is the goal? The goal is to build our capacity to be reading experts. We need to improve the literacy scores in this district. We need to improve the literacy of our students. And so we are starting, and you can call it a pilot if you want, if you think about it that way. But we are starting with a core group of individuals who can lead us forward in this work. As you heard me say already, letters is not Letterland. It's not our curriculum. I think Director Riley is the one who said that actually it could help if we had poor curriculum overcome some of those things. I don't believe we have poor curriculum in place. We're actually fairly new into our literacy adoption. But having reading experts, having literacy experts in our system builds our internal capacity to help us review and ensure that we have the best instructional strategies as well as the best curriculum and resources for our kids.
So we say it here, do we have it on paper? In terms of what the plan is, what the goal and the outcomes will be? Do we have it all planned out? The reason I ask, and you know this as well, if we don't have something on paper, then it's just training. Mm-hmm. But we want to be able to see results. We want to be able to see building the competencies and the skill sets of our teachers, giving them that creativity, that opportunity to be able to apply the knowledge they've learned. Mm-hmm. Where is that process? Let them develop what the outcome will be. You know what the goals are. You know what those expectations are. So if they go to that training, what are you bringing back? What do you hope to see that they implement? Mm-hmm. I think that's important because that way then they know there's an expectation here. We're not just training you for training's sake. We're training you because we expect you to do something. Mm-hmm. So if you look at it that way, then you know you have a group of 15 teachers that will work together to help develop a plan as to what the implementation process will look like and what the outcome is intended to be. Then your responsibility will be to work with these teachers to make sure those outcomes are what you want it to be as well. So they have to get it right.
And those are part of the stated expectations in the application, that they are agreeing to ongoing conversations, ongoing leadership in these areas, to take that information that they're using, to share it with their buildings, to work with the professional development committee and the instructional coaches to design the systems that we need to make sure that staff have ongoing opportunities to continue refining and reflecting on their literacy practices in their classrooms. That is certainly part of the process.
Do they know that they can work together before they leave? Do they know they can work together when they come back to develop what the outcomes will be based on their learnings? It's there on paper. You are, expected to do this. You're expected to do that. Yeah, fine. I know I'm expected to do it. But what if there's nothing really for me to do? Then I'm not going to do anything. So that's where the plan is missing. If they can work as a group, you send 15 teachers to learn something completely different from what others, especially the other part of it. They come back, the intention is for them to also provide a training of trainers, but 15 of them should be able to build something that all of us should be able to see results in the kids, and also in the other teachers. So that's where you get we'll call it rate of returns. You see your money's worth. For what you've spent, you're able to get 70 cents back on every dollar.
Director Riley?
I thank you for that. You said that very well. I would like to see a commitment, a solid plan, a solid rollout. Is this starting with certain grade levels? Are you going to start with the younger grade levels? Are you going to have middle school kids or teachers, or where is your focus going to be on that? And then I have one more follow-up after.
Yeah, so in terms of identifying the teachers for that work, I think the grade levels that are most impacted by phonics and phonemic awareness development, the foundational reading skills, certainly are K2 teachers. That doesn't mean the need doesn't exist at 3-5, but that is the primary work of foundational literacy. And so looking to K2 to lead this charge within this first year.
Okay, I would love to see an actual plan. If you could write one up for the board members, that would be great. I want to touch on QComp because you brought QComp into this. We have a couple of things that are brought to us through QComp, instructional coaches and mentoring. This board approved, not me, $825,000 for QComp. They want to levy the district taxpayers for. What I have seen in recent emails, I am very concerned about. The goal of that money that they want to take from the taxpayers, they want to put into comprehensive unionism. So my issue with this is we have these funds that could actually be used for letters PD and actual literacy. Is there any way, and I'm not sure who out of administration attends these meetings, is it Dr. Sherry? Why is the conversation not on actual literacy and on these other means of professional development? That is money actually coming from the taxpayer, and all the community really wants is to have literate children. And so I'm not sure why the focus of the SEA and the QComp board is not helping the district by not putting funds towards letters PD. That's a lot of money that could be very beneficial to this staff and this community. So, you brought up QComp and that, but that's not what's in the QComp plan here. So I'm concerned, and I would hope you could bring that back because I'm not allowed at those meetings. There's no board oversight at those meetings. That is all on administration and your SCA leadership team. So, or your QComp board and our QComp rep, which comes out of district salary as well, I believe. Maybe QComp salary, which comes out of district funds. So that's my concern. That's $825,000 that this board levied or wants to levy in December, this community. That money, in my opinion, should not be going to programs like social justice, industrial, professional development, bargaining, job security, following the national teachers union. Instead, we should be doing things that focus on our own community. And literacy, I believe, is our main issue in our community.
Yes,
Yeah, just a
Dr. Cherry.
response to that. We do plan to bring a report and a proposal to the board at an upcoming work session to make sure that the board understands what the district would do with the additional QComp non-voter approved levy dollars. So, and.
I have it in emails that were collected, so that's my concern. It's actual emails that were, you know, from that committee. And so that's, I just hope you would bring that back, and I'm sure some of them are here or watching, that I would really, as a board member, want to see that money put towards a literacy program.
Director Sherman.
Just so I'm going back into my QComp, when we did that a few months ago, I just want to clarify that for the public, that it's just out there as something we can do. And the direction to the QComp board was to come back with a plan on how the QComp board would utilize those funds. And we mentioned specifically targeting literacy and making it a measurable plan, that we wanted to see it be a measurable plan. So I just want to put that out there. No decisions have been made. I haven't attended any meetings. I'm waiting to see the plan. So I just think we should wait to see the plan, in my opinion, and make the decision at that time. My question is on, I had heard a lot with job embedded, the job embedded PD, and specifically I think PLC. I had heard from a lot of teachers that during the pandemic, they really benefited from, you know, collaborating with teachers, first grade teachers in other buildings, and that they didn't really, that was kind of the first time they'd been able to do that in a while, and they had missed that. It was something we used to do, and maybe Superintendent, you might remember that. And then we went away from it, and they really enjoyed that time. Are we doing anything like that within this plan that would revisit that, or has that been looked at?
Well, we have renewed our Zoom accounts.
Okay.
And before, we didn't have access to Zoom. It was it was a few years before when we would have sister schools and meet on PD days and spend that time together. And so that's something that we could look at, because I've heard the same thing as you, that teachers found it very valuable to be able to collaborate with each other.
I would add both middle schools have made that commitment to do a lot of professional development in common and bringing their professional learning communities into alignment with each other.
Yeah, the middle schools have been doing a lot together this year.
And I thought that the way you laid out this PD day was really easy to understand, so I really appreciate that. It gives me a nice snapshot. I'm curious, after the PD day, does anything go back? Do our families, are they aware of what teachers are doing? Is there ever any communication that goes out where this is how the PD day was spent? I'm just kind of looking at that, you know, kind of 360 communication on what our teachers are doing behind the scenes that might actually be something our families are interested in. And just, I loved this so much how you laid it out, but maybe as we get closer to the January 17th and April 15th, I just find it very helpful. And I'm impressed because I know your budgets have been cut by a lot. And so I'm impressed with how much you have been able to do right here, so.
Director Keister.
I will just jump in that, yes, we have in the past, usually in a newsletter, just shared with our families what teachers have been working on. We don't usually get into a lot of detail, but give them just a little overview of what our teachers are working on and what the focus is of a PD day.
Okay.
I know we've talked a lot about elementary PD, but I was just wondering if you could tell us a little bit more about some of the PD that happens in the high school and the ALC. Understanding student stories, what sort of PD does that entail?
So I've been more involved in collecting the elementary and building the professional development for elementaries. The high school, ALC, and middle schools have been designing their professional development days. So understanding student stories is recognizing how students come to school, the stories that they bring with them, whether it's personal background, family structures, who they are. And it's part of building that relationships with students, understanding, how to get to know students on on a personal level to understand where they're coming from, what's important to them, and so on. I don't know, I think they're still designing the actual conversations of what that's going to look like, but from my conversations, that's what I've gathered.
Okay, thank you. Director Probani.
Thank you, Chair Petrie. I just want to say a few things. We've been hearing a lot of great stories about our school district with the GATE program, with our kids in a National Honors Program, College Board programs. So there's been a lot of great things out there in terms of our school district, what we've been able to achieve. So it shows that our teachers and our administrators are doing something right. I just want to make that clear, and I think it's something we really need to be really, really proud of as parents, teachers, staff in this community. I just want to say this, that I support what you're doing. I really like what you're doing. I'm just so ingrained in making sure there's a plan, but I really want to make it clear that I'm thankful for what you've been able to put together, and so I really support that. So with this, and I am a strong believer of professional development, very strong believer of professional development, so we're on the right path. And the mere fact that you even included the Letters program as part of what we'll do, I know money has always been an issue there, but that's the reason why we're asking the community to continue to support, because there are great programs out there, things that have been identified for us to be able to continue to use to support our kids. We've got great teachers here, and I think it's important that we recognize that. So thanks to all of you.
Okay, if there are no other questions, thank you very much for that presentation. We look forward to hearing more after November 2nd, because I imagine that depending on what happens then, we will be able to go forward with more professional development, I hope. So thank you very much for that. All right, we're going to move on now. The next item on our agenda is open forum. Those who wish to speak to the school board will be able to do so during open forum. You must sign up to speak. You may sign up only for yourself, not other individuals or groups. Sign up will be available electronically the week of a board meeting, beginning at 8 a.m. on Monday and normally closing at 4 p.m. on Wednesday. You will receive a notification upon submitting your online form. Due to time limitations, we will limit the number of speakers to 15, who may speak for 3 minutes each. If you spoke at the last meeting, you may sign up to speak this week, but your name will be placed on a wait list. If speaking slots remain after the sign-up time ends, names from the wait list will be added to the speaking list in order of the time that individuals signed up. You will be notified if you are scheduled to speak. When your name is called, please be seated at the board table in that spot right over there next to Dr. Cherry, and state your name and address, including town, before you begin your remarks. Please pay attention to the timer. Oh, do you have the? Did I put it in here and forgot to give them to you? Here we go. Please pay attention to the timer, who will hold up cards indicating when you are approaching the end of your time. When time is called, you may finish your sentence. After you address the board, please leave the table. Stillwater Area Public Schools, District 834, welcomes input from citizens as community involvement on the issues facing our district fosters better decision-making and improved learning experiences for all students. While comments and questions are welcome during open forum, law prohibits the board from discussing concerns about individual employees or students in a public meeting. We will stop the proceedings immediately if employee or student privacy issues are raised and direct the speaker to forward comments regarding individual employees or students to the superintendent. We welcome discussion of the issues, but will not tolerate the targeting of individual staff or students by name, position, or implication. Because we are modeling civil discourse for our community, speakers must present their testimony in a respectful manner. Vulgarity, character attacks, or malice will not be tolerated. The board will not deliberate, discuss, or engage in conversation with speakers during open forum. However, the board may ask administration to review the concerns presented. Our first speaker tonight is Pete Kelsenberg.
Hi, Pete Kelsenberg, 22nd Street in Afton. Good evening, Chair Petrie, members of the board, and Superintendent Lansfeld. I would like to thank you for your efforts in making our district as good as it can be in spite of obstacles that have tested us recently. And I hope to be joining you in a couple of weeks, and I'm imagining what it might be like. The community will be looking for leadership as we debate topics important to our district. Parents and students will be watching. Others will be looking for me to make mistakes, then celebrating those mistakes. What has me more concerned, though, is the thought of the levy not being approved. Imagine the emails that I'll get, the calls that I'll receive from residents, and wonder how will I respond to those. I know you have to make big cuts, but please don't cut my child's adaptive sports program. How am I going to answer that? I know you have to make cuts, but please don't cut the paraprofessionals who help my child participate in class. I know you have to cut, but please figure out a way to keep my class sizes reasonable so my child can get a fair amount of attention from their teachers. Please keep the specialist who helps my child deal with personal struggles so he doesn't fall behind. Please don't cut the art and technology programs that are inspiring my kids to dream about their future. Please don't cut the athletic programs that my child is interested in and makes them interested in fitness and well-being. Thanks for taking the time to read my email, but can you assure me that my information is secure? Will you still have enough funds to reinstate my bus service that was canceled recently? My child really loves his teacher. Can you figure out a way to keep her from being laid off? Don't cut GATE. Don't cut it dual immersion. My mother loves to watch her grandchildren's concerts. Please don't let that end. She also enjoyed community ed classes before COVID shut that down. Please make sure those come back. And please do not raise the fees for the athletic associations to use the district facilities. Anyway, you get the point. I hope that we can avoid these unnecessary conversations and instead focus on making Stillwater area public schools the best district in Minnesota. This community deserves good education funding and will allow us to continue high-quality programming, staffing, and services. We need yes votes for both levy questions. Thank you.
Natasha Fleischman.
Hello, thank you for having me here tonight. It's fun to be at a board meeting in a different building for me. My name is Natasha Fleischman. I live at 1318 Carnelian Street in Stillwater. And I'm here because 20 years ago, we bought a house in this district because of the reputation of the schools. That was the whole reason we started looking in Stillwater, and that's why we came. We had two boys who went all the way through from early childhood family education up through the high school. And there was such a vast array of options for them to experience here that allowed them to explore their interests, things like fourth grade plays, tech programs, and 3D printers. Then we had AP courses, orchestra, robotics, a state championship team that my son was on, okay, science bowl, and a math team. One of my kids went on to Montana State studying math, and the other is now a sergeant in the United States Marine Corps stationed in Japan. My children gained so much from this district, and I'm voting yes on both questions so that the children who are just getting started will continue to have the same array or similar array of options to feed their interests and set them on their paths to the future.
Sarah Voigt.
Good evening. To the school board chair and members and superintendent and the administrators of ISD 834, thank you for the opportunity to speak tonight. I wish to begin my time in front of you with a message of deep gratitude for the professionals of this school district, from educators in the classrooms to the staff in the buildings, to administrators who help guide the strategic direction of this school district, to the bus drivers who safely transport our students to and from school. There are not the perfect words to communicate the breadth and depth of this gratitude, but thank you is a decent start. When we first entered the school system, I sort of knew what to expect, since my husband also works in public education for another district. Those expectations were quickly blown away by the deep love, tender care, and fierce commitment shown in every interaction we've shared in this district. Now, there have been plenty of changes in this education community over the years. I think back to when we first shook hands in the Early Childhood and Family Center with that instructor who oversaw the pre-screening for kindergarten. That feels like it was a lifetime ago. But what has not changed from our experience as parents is that deep love, that tender care, that fierce commitment. What also did not change was that an operating levy, the one that's set to expire at the end of this year, it's been there throughout our children's academic careers here. When I think back on our experiences and what's contributed to them, there are two clear answers: strong schools, strong community. As proud parents in this community, we don't just want our kids to do well, we want every kid in this district to do well. When we recognized that same philosophy was alive and well throughout this school district, we felt pony pride. Pony pride, I've come to realize, describes the feeling I get whenever I meet or work with alongside one of the many excellent teachers in this district. And pony pride's also what I feel every time one of my children's faces lights up with excitement as they describe something new that they've learned or mastered. Pony pride is why I'm voting yes and yes on November 2nd. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah. Can you please state your name and address? Just state your name and address.
Sarah Voigt, and I'm on Manning Avenue in West Lakeland Township.
Thank you. Tracy Mackey.
Good evening. I'm Tracy Mackey, and I live on the North Hill in Stillwater near Stonebridge Elementary, where my two sons started their learning journeys and first experienced the investment and commitment of the district, and they began to understand what community meant. My older son, Evan, is in his third year at the University of Denver. After a nurturing beginning at Stonebridge, Evan transferred to the Amazing Gate program. If there were no option for gifted students, we would have moved him outside this district. We were all thrilled he could stay here. His school community was robust and it was awesome. Advanced classes, mountain biking, ultimate frisbee, Nordic skiing, jazz band, wind symphony, so many engaged people, so many meaningful intersections in school and in the broader community. I think about the backdrop of the Bayport Cemetery for Memorial Days. Mr. Lindsay expected band students to be present and perform for the community. He said it was one of the most important things they would do in his class. Evan worked hard, took AP classes, was a leader in band, a 3-sport captain, and a graduate with highest honors. The education and coaching he received here positioned him so well for his what next. Oftentimes we downplay the smart kids. They'll be fine, it will work out. What works is that he was invested in. Thank you for creating a path for him to succeed. He's currently studying at the University of Glasgow and learning to play the bagpipes. My younger son, Leo, is a 10th grader. He had an IEP, has had an IEP since first grade, and also fantastic experiences at Stonebridge. With the shift to 6th grade middle schools, we moved him to River Grove. As a kid with sensory issues, he needed one more year of maturity before engaging in larger schools. Principal Van Scoy reached out to say he was sorry to hear we were leaving, and is there anything he could do? Leo was back for 7th and 8th grade, played percussion, joined Nordic skiing, and continues to progress. Before 9th grade, we had an email from Dennis Lindsay and Joel Bryan. Notice that Leo's not registered for band, would like to highlight the benefits and ask you to reconsider. I said, Leo's a neurodiverse learner and he really struggles, though he loves music. Mr. Lindsay responded, over the years, I've connected with many students of different abilities. Please know we would love to work with Leo if he wants to give it a try. Leo's not done here yet, and I thank you for supporting what he's experienced and what's to come. I know some want to hold the district accountable for what they see as disappointing performance. I get that. Nothing is flawless. Yet two things can be true at the same time. You can seek change and then collaborate for that change without cutting core funding. Do we want more stability or less? I want more. If we don't have strong schools, their decline will trigger a cascade of negative impacts. Nothing is isolated. My singular vote does not stand alone. Like our community, it is closely connected. My vote will ripple across millions of learning moments for more than 8,000 students with needs and challenges, talent and potential, and I am investing in them by voting yes. Thank you.
Jack Hoy.
Hello, I'm Jack Hoy from 1034 Pioneer Trail in Bayport, and firstly I'd like to thank the school board for the opportunity to speak tonight. I'm a senior at the high school and I just turned 18 on October 13th, and I am planning to vote yes for my first election on November 2nd in support of the levy. The Stillwater district has made me who I am today. I've been in the Stillwater district since kindergarten, attending Anderson, then Oakland, and now at the high school. I've been a link leader for 2 years. I'm active in the community. I've worked at Nelson's for 4 years and just got my second job at the Stillwater Boat Club on the gas dock. I play baseball and I'm a captain on the ski team. Next year I plan to attend the University of North Dakota and become a pilot. The reason I'm talking today is because I want to do my part to ensure that the students coming in behind me have the same opportunities that I've had. The Stillwater district set me up for success, whether it's through leadership opportunities like Link or attending events to cheer on my classmates. I would hate to see any programming cuts take away from the learning experiences in addition to technology needs. The levy addresses that secondary sports and activities could be at risk. I've been on the ski team since 7th grade and realized it's a level 2 sport that takes tons of funding and logistics. Skiing has brought me some of my best friends and memories in high school, and I would hate to see that go. And not to mention that we have continued to be one of the best teams in the state every year. Many other opportunities exist that mean a lot to kids participating, but it'll be easy to stop the funding if voting yes is not the priority. In the end, voting yes for the levy is the only responsible way to go to ensure the same fun, beneficial, and impactful school experience that I have had and the future of our generation needs. Thank you, and go Ponies.
Erica Astrike.
Hi, thanks for having me, and thank you for all that you all do. I know it's a lot of work being on a board. My name is Erica Astrike. I'm at 913 Broadway Street North in Stillwater. I have lived in our school district for over 27 years. My 3 adult children attended and graduated from Stillwater Public Schools, and with my youngest just graduating in 2019. I am a strong supporter of public education. I really do believe it is our greatest equalizer in society, creating equal opportunities for all people. The importance of passing the levy at this time is critical. We must look to the future and continue to fund our schools to keep up with the times, supporting students, educators, programs, and technology. Question 1 is a no-brainer. We absolutely need to maintain funding for the district. The $12 million in cuts will occur if not passed. This is a substantial sum. The necessary cuts will likely affect class sizes, sports, arts, and other important programs. The cost for question 1 is minimal to taxpayers. It really is a no-brainer. Question 2 is a key for success. My children were fortunate. They didn't have to worry about having a laptop to do their schoolwork and connect with resources, teachers, and classmates. But families who can't afford those devices for their kids are at a major disadvantage and should have access to the same opportunities. The district must have the funds to update their outdated and broken devices so that all children in our public schools have access to the benefits afforded by technology. Devices for students are only part of what's needed, though. Teachers should have good enough devices that they can properly do their jobs, and our tech infrastructure and security systems need to be maintained and updated. It's my understanding that we've never had a tech levy in our district, and this is surprising considering how much we all rely on technology to live our lives. Do you know of any successful organization today that doesn't use tech and have a line item to fund it? A funding bucket for tech should already be in place. Let's catch up with the many other local school districts who already designate funds specifically for technology. When I see the data on other area school districts and what they spend per student, I'm really surprised that Stillwater Schools spends less than average, even though our academics are top-notch with test scores to support that. I'm also really surprised that our taxpayers spend 59% less than South Washington County taxpayers for their public schools, and 55% less than Matamidi and White Bear Lake taxpayers. Now is the time to move in the direction of catching up to support our kids. I'll close by saying that I really don't understand the Vote No people and their rationale. They will be punishing children for the decisions made by adults and strapping our district. It doesn't seem logical to me. How is the district supposed to do more with less? Thank you.
Laura Super.
Close to you guys this time. It's kind of weird. Hi, my name is Laura Super, and I live on the South Hill in Stillwater. Thank you all for having me here tonight and allowing me this opportunity to speak. First, I want to start by saying that I voted for every one of the elected board members sitting before us today. I also voted for the previous board majority, and I think it's worth asking, what does everyone think that board would be doing right now in terms of the levy? I do not believe for 1 second that they would be acting so irresponsibly and grandstanding by pushing a narrative to defund our children's education on some notion of tough love. I just don't buy it. They would absolutely have to approve a renewal of the existing operating levy, and I believe Director Riley knows this too. It's pretty easy to be the lone vote against this levy as a way to pander to a base that doesn't truly understand the implications of not passing it. I did vote for you, and I'm disappointed that you are using this platform to push this agenda to defund education, and I know for a fact that there are many in this community who feel the same way. It is unconscionable, and frankly, I don't see how your work against the levy does not violate board policy that states a board member cannot work against an approved board agenda item. But I am here tonight on a more positive, want to speak on a more positive note, to offer my perspective as both a resident and a real estate professional in our district. In my experience as a realtor, I'm often asked about schools regardless of where I am showing houses. Stillwater School District is an area that has stood out as a place that many people consider a top pick for many reasons. The river, the surrounding lakes, the farms, the forests, along with the quaint historic town, are without a doubt a large part of the appeal. But we also are considered a top school district as well. It is easy to speak with pride to my clients about the community and direct them to resources that show what it means to have pony pride. I love being able to share stories about people who graduated from our schools and have gone on to do so many amazing things. Athletes, actors, business entrepreneurs, scientists, musicians, and on and on. One of my favorite highlights to share is our amazing theater program and the music department in the high school. We have a top-notch theater at our high school, and the improvements that were made there recently make it such a great resource for students to pursue performing arts. I'm still in awe of the incredible performance of Les Miserables at the theater department in the high school a few years ago. It was simply breathtaking, and it was especially impressive with the live orchestra pit beneath the stage. This is an opportunity my daughter will soon get to experience as she's been invited to play in the pit for spring performances. She's now also playing softball and experiencing what it means to be a pony athlete. Having access to the pack with strength training and an athletic trainer and physical therapist on site is a critical part of that experience. Not all schools can boast of such things. I'm not even halfway through. I have so much I want to say. Just vote no is not an option. Voting no is not demanding better. Voting no is choosing failure. Please vote yes to renew the existing operating levy and vote yes for the technology levy. Thank you.
George Hepner. George Hepner.
George Hepner, Paris Avenue, Oak Park Heights. Board members, Superintendent Lansfeld. Anytime a levy's on the ballot, it's important that voters know its purpose. The upcoming levy questions have nothing to do with school expansion, the selling of real estate, or the closing of buildings. They do, however, have much to do with the learning of the 8,500 students from early childhood through the Adult Transitions Program. At the elementary level, your levy votes will impact the offerings in the areas of music, art, and physical education. They will impact the positions of school interventionists who work with our most needy students in reading and math. They will impact the summer programming, which has helped students remediate for over 20 years. If you are a parent or a grandparent of an elementary student, voting yes will allow these valuable programs to continue without disruption. At the middle school level, elective programs are often the classes that keep students most interested in school. World languages, band or choir or orchestra, public speaking, design and make, or AVID are electives that encourage students to follow their passion. Access to technology through a dedicated funding levy will allow students to stay connected to their teachers. If you are a parent or a grandparent of a middle school student, voting yes will allow teacher-student collaborations at a time students often struggle on their path to academic success. At the high school level, innovative programming like career pathways and BAR help students reach their achievement goals. Beyond the classroom, these opportunities, thanks to previous community support, include, among others, yearbook and journalism, robotics and FFA, drama club, and the debate team. These activities, plus strong music and athletic programs, allow students to take part in school-sponsored events that bring both community and personal pride. If you are a parent or a grandparent of a high school student, voting yes will allow these opportunities to continue for another decade of District 834 students. Perhaps you are a community member who has children who were educated in District 834 schools and believe in the idea of paying it forward. Perhaps you've recently moved to District 834 and are just learning about our schools and their opportunities and want those same opportunities for your children. Or perhaps you're a district parent who has a student in one of the other fine schools in the district, but realize that strong public schools help create vibrant communities and raise property values for everyone. If you vote yes for the levies, not only are you supporting reading, writing, and math, but you are supporting outstanding programs available for our youngest learners in early childhood to our transitions programs for 18 to 21-year-olds. Please join me in voting yes.
Bob Manning. Bob Manning.
We're not both named Bob Manning. I'm Bob Manning. I live on Legend Boulevard in Stillwater.
And I'm Rachel Stile. I live on 3rd Street in Lake Elmo.
We're here to talk about some of the good things, the many good things happening in our district. I've lived in Stillwater for 22 years, taught here for 27, coached for 15, raised 3 sons who went through the Stillwater school system. Now as a career pathways coordinator at the high school, my job is to connect students to local businesses through real-world experiences that build relevant skills and help address the labor and skills shortages that every industry is experiencing.
I'm also one of our career pathways coordinators at the high school. I've taught in Stillwater for 22 years, and my children have been fortunate to go through the Stillwater schools as well. One of my passions as a career pathways coordinator is to help expand academic offerings for all of our students and provide and expand our early credit college credit opportunities for all of our kids. Last week, our freshmen took a survey as part of our game day experience, and 45% of our freshmen said that they're already starting to think about their future. Meanwhile, many of our juniors and seniors are feeling stressed out because they don't know where to go or how to even begin. Our goal is with Pathways is to help students feel ready to launch upon graduation from high school.
Pathways is not a program that students have to join. It's a framework upon which we provide all students with a meaningful education. Students can engage with Pathways programming no matter where they are in their journey. And as our new initiative takes hold, all students will have gone through the following stages. Starting freshman and sophomore year, students will begin to discover their interests and strengths and chart their course using the personalized learning plan and have access to over 40 early college credit opportunities. They will also begin to explore a variety of careers through facility tours, guest speakers, career conversations with professionals in their field of interest. Leveraging our partnerships with local businesses and community organizations, we'll provide real-world experiences through class projects, internships, and even paid work experiences. By their junior and senior year, having charted a course for success, explored their interests, maybe even changed paths along the way, kids are ready to pursue a meaningful path upon graduation.
Over the course of the last month, we've been very busy down in the Pathways office. While our sophomores and juniors took the pre-ACT and PSAT last week, we provide an experience for our juniors and seniors called Game Day, which gave students a chance to think about their game plan after high school. We had over 222 students travel to 7 different schools around the metro area. We also had 123 students participate in virtual tours, while 10 of our students met with military representatives. Thank you for the opportunity to provide Pathways funding for all of our kids.
Joe Samuelson.
I'm Joe Samuelson, 1019 North 2nd Street, Stillwater. Following that, maybe I'll sign up for Pathways. The school board is here to set policy and hire those who make schools work for any child. All of us speak at public meetings are not so much speaking to the board, but to a larger public we want to influence. On September 24th, I came to the school board meeting intending to talk about civility. Before I could speak, the meeting was adjourned because of disruption. It's a bit ironic. During this meeting and the next, many focus on demanding better. And who doesn't want that? The arguments were, number 1, 3rd grade reading scores have dropped significantly. Number 2, some teachers assign but don't give credit for homework. One-room schoolhouse used to be good enough. The teachers' union endorsed candidates and concepts that may be disagreeable. 70% of the taxpayers don't have children in the schools. Following the meeting on the 24th, I listened to an impassioned vote no parent question whether teachers live in the district. Yesterday, my wife received a postcard with a caption, as Marvin Gaye said, "Save the babies." It actually said, "Vote no on both levy questions, rescue the children." I'm unsure how that would work. The first levy is to maintain what students now have, and the second is to fund technology. Though Stillwater schools are one of the few metro districts without a separate technology levy, I think the district could more clearly lay out the increased taxes and how they'll be spent on technology. Technology is important and expensive, but it requires a plan we haven't seen. But I have the feeling that much of the vote no sentiment dates to 2016 when the board voted to close schools and open another. I understand the desire to want to have the best for your kid, and the drop in reading level scores is a concern. But how will you raise the scores by spending less on next year's third graders? A group that has experienced significant turmoil during COVID-19. About homework, I wish the school administration had a vision of teaching that relied less on jargon and put more emphasis on allowing a variety of teaching techniques, but I'm not on the board, and I have to accept that I vote for those who will make the best decision for students. My father went to a one-room schoolhouse in rural Iowa. I think he would say it was only the beginning. And how many one-room schoolhouses would it take for every District 834 student? The teachers union endorses some candidates for a variety of offices. It is only that, an endorsement. It doesn't direct Teachers Retirement Association investments for for-profit prisons, but I find that in one case, if I find that be the case, I'll do everything in my power to have them the best. And yes, there are 70% of the homeowners don't have children in schools, but I know that, that's it. Please vote yes on both levies.
Diane Polasek.
I want to thank Board Chair Petrie and directors and Superintendent Lansfeld for the opportunity to speak. My name is Diane Polasek and I live in Stillwater Township. We all demand better success for our students, yet the Vote No group has used repeatedly a percentage and from a Minnesota Comp Assessment score that 57% of our third graders are not meeting reading proficiency. Educators explain this best, and I learned it from them. You do not use one test measure alone. It doesn't ever tell the whole story. But it does remind me of a nursery tale where Henny Penny saw one object fall from the sky, and she convinced her friends the sky was falling and they must rush and tell the king. She reacted to one data point. But back to the 57%. The MCA scores were related to changes the state made. In 2013, a decline was predicted and happened statewide because there were significant changes made in the test. The MCA test later switched from manual books to computer test. How many third graders were used to reading a computer test? In 2018, parents began to question standardized testing and began opting out more students from the test completely. The state at first counted those opt-outs as zeros. It changed the score. Educators look at the whole pictures. Our ESL learners have increased in the district. Our special ed learners have increased to nearly 17% in our district. Dual language programs are known to impact third grade reading scores. It's also shown that they catch up. There were no tests in 2020, and 18 months of learning was seriously disrupted by a pandemic, and 2021 scores were impacted. One test alone is simply irresponsible. It's like yelling, "The sky is falling." Demand better success for our students, yes, but look at what our successes are. I think enough people have already talked about them. If you look at the community newsletter, Community Connections, it talks about them all. Our kids are doing well. Our district is doing well too. They will initiate the Letters program, the phonics-based reading program. They're purchasing the Wilson Language Training reading curriculum. They're making moves on improving our reading curriculum. Ask a teacher. Ask a board member. But you won't make better readers if you deny the funds to pay for the teachers in the reading curriculum. Yes, demand better schools for our kids by demanding high-quality administration and teachers. Some have complained loudly they're overpaid and the teachers' union is some kind of conspiracy. Well, I'm proud to live in a community where our teachers are highly thought of and paid well for their work. That way we get quality applicants applying in our district. And I want to be part of a community that supports public schools. There's been a lot of communications from a very local group called the Vote Knowers. The larger community audience has a lot of women grandparents like myself. While we supported their right to free speech, their speech made us not want to listen to their arguments. The explosive outbursts put a stop to any two-way conversation. I have just 2 sentences. It's about jamming together a bunch of scary statements to scare the community that our students are failing. That's not our district story. That's Henny Penny's story. We wanted to tell you the reaction that I couldn't say at another open forum because it got shut down. As open forum speakers, many of us in the community.
Your time is up.
There were over 35.
Time is up.
They chose to respond with the power of the purse.
Time is
and
up.
you motivated us to continue
time
giving
is
our
up.
money, time, and energy to
Your
vote
time
yes
is up.
for District 834. Thank you.
Jeremy Sure.
Good evening. First of all, I'd like to thank the board and the administration for this opportunity. I know this is not a mandated platform, but one that is generously offered because you find the sharing essential to the decision-making in the district. My name is Jeremy Sure. I reside in White Bear Lake. But I've spent the past 20 years working for the district in the custodial department. I'm currently serving as the head engineer for Brookview Elementary. I'm the first person who enters the building in the morning. I turn off the alarm, turn on the lights, check the boilers, and make sure the staff and students are entering a safe environment. It's eerily quiet at that point. But soon after, the Adventure Club staff arrive to set up for the morning. Bread is delivered, the kitchen staff come and start their prep work for breakfast and lunch. The office staff check messages. Teachers and paras start their morning routines as buses and carpoolers bring the students to their waiting learning environment. It is then that the building truly comes alive. It's awesome to witness that. As staff, we all have our individual schedules and job descriptions, but our true value to the students and ultimately the community that surrounds us isn't in our individual checklist. It's how we work together. Collaboration, compromise, grace, empathy, mutual problem solving. This is how we are able to serve even the most challenging of students. All have the opportunity to thrive here, and as a staff, we model that collaborative ethic to the students. And believe me, students are observant to modeling, as we all know. A considerable portion of my day is spent in the cafeteria. When I see students of different ethnic, religious, socioeconomic, gender, and abilities sitting around a table together, it is apparent that they don't see differences as a detriment, but as a benefit. They simply look across the table and see friends. That's what gives me hope. The vitriol, divisiveness, incivility, and closed-mindedness that has permeated the broadcast news, social media, and even these board meetings has not penetrated our walls, and it will not penetrate our walls, I assure you. Any investment that the community generously offers will pay off when the students that we have nurtured grow and mature and eventually take our place. It is then that the seeds of compassion that we have sown will replace the divisiveness with unity and true community. It is my hope that the caring, supportive, and loving environment that we are fostering inside our walls will eventually be reflected in the community outside our walls. Thank you.
Bob Hagstrom.
Good evening, all of you. Nice to be here. I'm going to give you a little history lesson. Diane, my wife, is back here with me. And we moved out here in 1959. And we had 3 children. I live in Grant in an old farmhouse. And my first experience with the board or this school was with our oldest son, Jim. He was in kindergarten, and all the buses lined up out there, and he scratched his head. He didn't know which bus to get on. So when all the buses left, he was standing there. What do you think I met in my driveway? The principal, Mr. Hollander, drove Jim out and said, your little boy was standing at the bus and couldn't make it. So my first introduction to this school was meeting Mr. Hollander the first day of school. And I have had nothing but good memories of my children, our children, going to school. Our kids got on buses for 25 years in our neighborhood or in front of our house. 25 years from 1959. Our last graduate was in 1985. They participated in all the programs of the school. The programs included some of the best music, some of the best sporting events, some of the things that have really enhanced their life. They were good students, some above average, some average. But they've gone on to live very successful lives, every one of them. And you know, it's end results that you want from education, isn't it? It's, are the kids getting results? They get results from good teachers. And Stillwater 834 has had such a good reputation. They've attracted some of the best teachers in the state. I know that. I know them. I know a lot of the teachers personally, and I've experienced them. I've been a Nordic ski volunteer since our daughter Amy skied in the mid-80s. I've been a volunteer with this high school Nordic ski program. I've gotten to know a lot of kids, just endless numbers of kids who have experienced and show that experience by the way they live and what they do with their lives. Thank you. My time is up. I've enjoyed every minute of it.
Aaron Mathis.
Good evening. Erin Mathis, Lake Elmo, also special ed para at Oakland Middle School. Superintendent Lansfeld, Chair Petrie, Board Directors, thank you for the opportunity to speak this evening. First, I want to thank the administration for settling a very fair contract for the para union. I also want to put a shout out to the para staff that dedicated countless hours to come to a fair settlement. There are times outside of the community, in the community, when it feels like we're not a valued part of the teaching staff. Let me assure you that without passing the levy, our jobs are at risk, and that ultimately takes away from our students' learning experiences. My home has 4 voters that are in support of both questions on the upcoming levy. My daughters both received outstanding education from Stillwater schools, and we look forward to supporting the current and future students of our district, as they deserve the same experiences and education that my children had. The special education department is also very near and dear to my heart, and our district's is bar none. Being in the classroom every day gives me a unique perspective to see what happens firsthand. Our students are engaged and they're learning. The teachers are dedicated to their students and their jobs. Have you ever had the experience of a group of gen ed peers come to a classroom where you are with 1 or 2 sped students to pick us up because I don't know, I might not know where to go for Unified Gym? In case you don't know what Unified Gym is, it is a regular ed gym class that has students that have made a choice to spend time with their peers of differing abilities. They accept them into the games and interact with them. They also take part with Phi Ed teachers in organizing the activities that are appropriate for all abilities. What awesome leadership skills these students are learning. It truly fills my heart to watch. Vote yes for all of these students and their families. Having worked on and off with a student since 4th grade, now an 8th grader, and seeing the look on her mom's face, when we as staff got to tell her that your child is beginning to use her verbal skills. Sorry. The student has been nonverbal her entire life. Watching that learning take place for the student is priceless. Please vote yes for her and her family and other families in the district who have children with different abilities. Have you had the opportunity to go into a gen ed classroom and have to rearrange the tables and chairs just to be able to fit into the classroom? Being accepted in by the teachers and peers and students who are moving furniture to help us physically fix the space. Sorry, okay. Anyways, if the levy doesn't pass, then we won't get to experience being in the classroom. For all those reasons, please vote yes for the levy. Thank you.
Nance Purcell. Nance Purcell.
Good evening. Thanks for the opportunity to speak. I gave it a shot on the 23rd of September and it didn't work. Can you hear me? Is this working? Okay. I live at 1017 Abbott Street West in Stillwater. I retired from District 834 in 2012 after teaching at Stillwater Junior High School and at now Stillwater Area High School for 18 years. During my first 12 years in the district, I taught 9th grade civics at Stillwater Junior High. And when I moved to the high school, I taught U.S. government to seniors. In both the 9th and 12th grade, students studied the Constitution, different levels of government, rights and responsibilities of citizenship, public policy. However, as seniors, there's a little more depth, of course, to the course. When I was teaching, I'm not sure this is still true, seniors had an assignment to attend a public meeting. Washington County Commissioners, a city council meeting, a local commission, the school board. Their task was to observe, take notes, and write a critique of the meetings they attended. They got a taste of democracy in action. Student write-ups routinely included comments about the slow, often boring meetings. No surprise, although yours have been a little livelier. Lo and behold, the work of elected officials wasn't dazzling. The folks we elect to take care of the business of government are willing to give their time and their expertise to sustain democracy and democratic institutions. While most of my students observed well-run, orderly meetings, some witnessed disrespectful outbursts, name-calling, rudeness and impatience, disruptions and interruptions. These disruptions shocked them. My students were surprised that adults could behave so badly. Students wrote about behaviors that are not tolerated in District 834 classrooms. Currently, fear and disruption inflame public meetings and public discourse at all levels of government. Tonight, I'd like to weigh in on behalf of tolerance and trust and forgiveness. Tolerance for this board is in some part in short supply because I think you're being held hostage to anger at the decisions of former boards. Trust, again, short supply in our district. Many citizens of this district are angry that promises were broken. I share this anger and disillusionment, but what I would like is a heartfelt apology, not to gut the district budget. I'm here on behalf of forgiveness and moving forward. Forgiveness is an act of creation, and it's time to forgive. Our future must not be predicated on missteps from the past. We go to the polls on November 2nd to vote on 2 questions that will shape District 834 for years to come. The outcome of this referendum will affect our schools and our property values. We will prevail as a premier school district. We will not prevail if this levy does not pass. I urge you to vote yes on both questions. Thank you.
Thank you. I move that we adjourn to a closed session pursuant to Minnesota Statutes 13D.05, subdivision 3B, to discuss or consider offers for the purchase or sale of real properties. The properties are identified as 10158 122nd Street North, Hugo, Minnesota, 55038, the former Withrow Elementary School property. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Director Hockert. All those in favor of adjourning to a closed session, raise your hand and say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay, motion is unanimous. Thank you.